There's a pretty big debate among backpackers: bring a chair or sit on the ground. And there are some pretty strong opinions on both sides.
I think of hiking. I don't think of sitting.
I have always been pro chair. I even made these take a seat shirts that you can order through the links in the description. But the decision to take a seat is a little more complicated than I've made it seem.
So today I'm going to talk about all the reasons why you should or shouldn't take a seat, and talk about one product that might make the whole conversation pointless. Only you can decide. I typically take a chair on just about every hike I go on, but I don't always. And when I do decide to leave the chair at home, it's typically because I want to go light and fast and cover big miles. In situations like that, there just isn't much time to spend at camp before it's time to go to bed, and so the weight of a chair not only feels like a waste, but you will move faster and be less fatigued with less weight on your back.
But even in a situation like that, I still bring something like this sit pad to give me a little bit extra comfort and insulation from the ground.
Sit pads like this only weigh a few ounces, can cost as little as $10, and can save your ass from the wet, cold, and uncomfortable ground.
But can it really be considered a chair? Well, probably not. And it takes away one of the best benefits of a chair, which is getting up off the ground.
Maybe you saw my video from a couple years back that said,
"The ground is worse than a pound."
I still firmly believe that. Your typical backpacking chair only weighs about a pound, and these days there are lots of options to choose from. I still think the Helinox is the most comfortable chair, but there are others that are cheaper or some with more options.
I just don't think they're as comfortable.
But all of them weigh about a pound. And I'll admit that when you're talking about backpacking, especially if you lean towards ultralight, a pound is a significant amount of weight. I am consistently carrying a 15-pound base weight, which means a chair is almost 7% of the total weight in my pack. It doesn't serve multiple purposes, and you can get by with just sitting on the ground.
And for a long time, I thought bringing a chair was just ridiculous. That is, until a friend of mine brought a chair, and I had the fortunate mistake of sitting in it.
And if I'm being honest, that's the best reason to bring a chair, and the whole reason I made the argument to carry one. Because a pound on your back all day really isn't that much, but the comfort you feel when you finally sit down in a chair after a long day's hike is indescribable. It's one of those things you just have to try to believe.
But there are a few cons you do have to consider that I want to talk about right after I mention today's sponsor, Garage Grown Gear.
If you've made it this far into the video, chances are you're a pretty avid backpacker that isn't afraid to scrutinize every piece of gear you carry.
There is a lot of gear out on the market, but the percentage of gear that you can find at big box stores is only the tip of the iceberg.
You could spend hours digging through message boards, review channels, and cottage brand websites looking at all the different options there are out there, or you could just go to GarageGrownGear.com. They only sell backpacking gear. They specialize in cottage and ultralight gear and are constantly updating their inventory with gear I promise you've never heard of.
In fact, it's where I found this unique little chair that might be the compromise we've all been looking for.
This is the Antimatter chair from No Matter Products. It's basically a portable backrest that lets you lean back and relax just about anywhere.
The thing I love about this chair is it doesn't use your trekking poles to support the back. Seems like every new piece of gear these days wants to use your trekking poles, and there's just not enough to go around on any given hike to support all the trekking pole assisted gear.
But the Antimatter chair uses its own carbon fiber poles to support the back and give you a comfortable backrest. Now, the obvious drawback is that you're still on the ground, and you don't even get the benefit of a sit pad, just a little piece of nylon that could help prevent dirt and a little bit of water from soaking into your pants, but isn't going to do much for comfort or insulation.
Now, you could pair the Antimatter chair with a cheap sit pad, but at that point, you're beginning to defeat the purpose of a chair like this.
The Antimatter chair weighs just 6.7 ounces, 8 if you include the stuff sack. That's about half your typical backpacking chair, which is not bad. But if you throw in a sit pad like this one from Nemo, that's another 5 ounces, and it still isn't as comfortable as your traditional Helinox backpacking chair. There are lighter sit pads out there, but you get my point.
All of which I could get past if this thing didn't cost $100 by itself.
Look, I like fun and unique backpacking items that try to solve the constant problem of bringing enough to be comfortable without carrying an uncomfortable amount of weight. And I get that those niche items are expensive, but you can often find a 1-pound REI chair for less than $70 on sale, and the comfort difference is more than significant. All of that brings me back to the main focus of this video, reasons to and not to bring a chair, one of which is cost. Backpacking chairs are expensive. They can be one of the heavier items in your backpack, but there are alternatives, not all of which are expensive. If you don't care about a backrest and just want to get up off the ground, you can always take a folding stool like this. Now, I have not personally used a stool like this and probably won't. A backrest is just too important for me, but if it seems like something that might work for you, they come in a lot of different weights and prices from a lot of different manufacturers. Then there is this chair that started it all. This is a Thermarest trucker chair that is essentially a sleeve that folds your sleeping pad into a chair. This was the chair that my friend brought on a hike many years ago and convinced me that a chair was worth the wait. Unfortunately for the trucker chair, it doesn't save that much weight, coming in at 10 ounces, just 6 ounces less than a typical backpacking chair, with the added danger of puncturing your sleeping pad. But it really is comfortable, I'll give it that.
So as I talk about all these options, it really does seem like there's little excuse not to bring some type of seat, whether it's a cheap and easy sit pad or a top-of-the-line lightweight chair.
The reality is, only you can decide what is worth the wait and the cost for you. I personally will always have a chair with me, with few exceptions. But what about you? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and do all those other things. And as always, thanks for watching.